Hello, AI Seeking the Truth. I've got another off-the-rails encounter for you, and I must admit I have never heard one anything like what you're about to hear. In fact, I think this is a pretty scary one and probably one of the most scary ones that I have shared on here. It says, Mike, whenever I listened to your channel for the first time the other day on abnormal investigations, I realized that you was onto something. I don't ever talk about these things. I am a very quiet person. But when I found out your sincerity and seeing your beliefs, I knew you were in the right path because of what I have witnessed personally, and I am willing to share this with you and your people only. Here is what I have encountered. My husband and I have been together for 50 years and have always gone to the same church. We met when I was 17 and he was 18, and he invited me to prom. We married and had kids who moved out a year before this happened. It was a normal day. We had just woken up, got dressed, and were headed to church in my husband's Volkswagen car. At the church, we greeted our friends and fellow churchgoers before we headed to our seats. The morning started out normal. The band sang a few songs while the crowd sang along. The pastor listed off a few upcoming events that the church was hosting. During prayer, there was a blood-curdling scream that was suddenly cut off by a deep growl. We all looked up, and a woman standing 2 rows away from us was gone. In her place, Mike, was a strange creature who scanned the crowd of onlookers. She had never attended our church before, and this was the first time. I gripped Jerry's arm tightly as it let out another howl, as security guards ran over and tried to subduing it. Yes, I called it an it, Mike, because she had changed so much. She no longer looked human. But it brushed them off as if they were nothing, like they were just flies. I can only describe it as a wolfish creature with feminine features. It was weird how she looked. Everyone was in a panic, and they looked like they wanted to run, but they were too terrified to even blink. The creature jumped over the aisles and landed on the stage where the pastor was standing. Instead of panicking, he remained calm as 2 guards got up and grabbed the creature, locking her arms. She growled and she snapped at them as the pastor held up his cross and calmly recited the Lord's Prayer. He said, "In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, leave this woman's body." He recited and repeated until the creature stopped fighting but still remained in that form. Jerry and I started praying that everyone would make it out of the church safely and that the woman would be okay. The pastor kept chanting louder and louder the same thing. At last the creature collapsed into the front row, and we got a clear picture of when it turned back into a woman. I know that contradicts my previous statement, Mike, but this thing went back and forth. It was 2 aisles away. I witnessed this, but I know, it doesn't sound possible. Finally, someone called the police, who took the woman away, and the church was let out early. A few days later, we were watching the news for anything about the incident, but nothing came up. Suddenly, there was a knock at the front door. I answered it, and 2 government agents were standing there. They asked for my name, Sally. One asked, and I nodded. "We're here regarding the incident that happened last week," his partner said. "Okay," I responded. I invited them in, but they declined to come into the house. "This won't take too much of your time," the man who seemed in charge said. "They're just here to tell you and your husband to keep what you saw a secret. In regards to the family of the woman, the government must ask all witnesses of the event to stay quiet. The family doesn't want this out." "Why?" I asked. They looked at each other before answering. "The young lady had an undiagnosed mental condition. She's being treated as we speak, and should make a full recovery soon. Anything else you saw was hallucinations and nothing else, probably. We're willing to pay however much you ask." "Within reason," they said. I almost declined, but we needed the money, and maybe we were right, so I named a price just to see if they would do it. They signed me a check standing on my porch before leaving. That is when things really started to turn. Our preacher, which we know from a small town personally, started talking, and one day he told us in the back room in the Sunday school room Only the few people that he trusted, and I am blowing a complete trust. But I believe this needs to be told. Him and a few other priests sent in by the government conducted even a more strong practice against the evil that was in her. He said they couldn't drive it completely out of her, and she was placed in a rail car where she was then took to Kansas. From Kansas, they said she would be transported through Oklahoma toward the Red River. That was all he told us. Why would they take her toward the Red River in Oklahoma? I have no idea. But what I saw, Mike, I witnessed with my own eyes, and so did everybody in church. She went back and forth from a woman to a creature that was dog-like to a woman. The way she growled and snapped and her teeth hit, there was no doubt she was very vicious and very dangerous. To this day, there is a man that visits our church that no one knows that sits in the very back during every time we go. He is dressed in a suit, and all he does is observe. He films certain people. I don't know what's going on here. Should we change churches? I'm almost afraid to now. What do you think? That is a very, very, very different encounter than what I'm used to. I don't know about you changing churches. That would be entirely up to you. Um, I think when you took the money, you bought into their plan. I mean, you're pretty much stuck now because you've took the money. I'm not going to say if I agree or disagree with that because I don't want to cause you any trouble. Because I'm glad that you did share with me, and I think that there is something going on, and there may be more than one of those creatures in your town, and they're expecting some more to show up, or they're expecting the preaching that your preacher is doing to bring that out of them. Sounds like something's going on in your town. Why they would be moved through Oklahoma to the Red River, I have no idea. Why they would even be moved into Oklahoma through Kansas. Maybe somebody in our chat will have a better understanding of this and a better idea. That is a very disturbing story, and I hope you keep us updated on this. I do want to be updated on this. I'm interested in how this is going to end and what's going to turn up and what you're going to find out. Thank you so very much for sharing that, guys. If you have not subscribed to this channel, our backup channel for abnormal investigations, I'd like to invite you to click that subscribe button, ring that bell, select all, guys, so you don't miss any of these, and I will update you on all these that are sent in. Thank you so very much for listening, and again, another off the rails encounter over here, guys.